Hello, everyone, and welcome to Interview with Inspirations, which is a skills rediscovery initiative. I have the pleasure to be joined by Dr. Mukherjee, Dr. Shauli Mukherjee, who is working as the Director of School of Education and is the Dean of Student Affairs at 𝐸𝐧𝐻𝑢 University, Kolkata. Thank you so much for joining us, Doctor. So could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you so much, Yash, for that introduction. So it has almost been 23 years now that I have been in the education sector. I have been the principal of some of the reputed international schools in West Bengal, and among which two schools had been exclusively founded by me as the founder principal. Among which I would like to mention STEM World School, which is the first STEM school in West Bengal and which was also eventually awarded for being the second best international day school in the entire West Bengal region. So, after almost 2 decades of my stint with the school education sector and school leadership, last year I had actually stepped into the domain of higher education, where currently I am the director of School of Education and Dean Student Affairs at one of the premier universities of Western India, and that is 𝐸𝐧𝐻𝑢 University. Apart from that, as a thought leader, I am also associated with premier educational organizations across India as well as globally in senior advisory position. Additionally, as a motivational speaker, I almost speak very regularly and frequently on various national and international forums, pertaining to education and other allied issues. So, apart from this, I would also like to mention that I am the executive director curriculum of Charles Walter Society of Innovation and Research and the executive director of 𝐈𝐧𝐭𝐌M Foundation. I also work relentlessly in the field of mental health and emotional well being issues pertaining to that. And in that capacity, I am the special board advisory member for 𝐒𝐻𝐢, which is in Australia, which works towards global youth mental health awareness issues, as well as Global Mental Health Association India and MISOHI. So I'm the board advisory member for these three organizations. Apart from that, I also work in the field of women empowerment. So in that capacity, I am the chair of education board for Hope Ambassadors and Childcare Organizations, Nigeria, and also the academic advisory and brand ambassador for Women Reform Organization, which is also in Nigeria. And as a sports enthusiast, I am associated with Indian Golf Circuit as the Chief and Steward Northeast. And I'm also the national advisor for Sports Academy Association of India. Also, the brand ambassador for Wednesday Times and the state educational advisor, that is for West Bengal for Wednesday Times, and the ambassador for Commonwealth Entrepreneurs Club, UK. So these are a few of my current associations, apart from my regular stint with the university education.
Dr. Mukherjee, the list of your accomplishments and everything you've done is endless, and you've received awards and recognition for your work as well. So could you tell us a little bit more about the challenges that you faced withstanding the complexities of the industry? Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. Uh, I actually have a different perspective on the same because I believe that all potential opportunities, they often come guised in the form of challenges. So it very much depends on the person actually who is facing the challenge, that in which way or in what manner he would be looking at that particular challenge, because you can learn a lot from the challenges and the setbacks and the roadblocks that you're facing in your way. provided your mind is completely, your mind should be completely open to it. I mean, if you look at it from the point of view of an opportunity, you have a lot and lots of things to learn, even from the challenges and setbacks. So, it depends whether the challenges uh, are there to make you a better person or a bitter person, whether it's going to turn you into a victor or a victim. So the choice is always with you. Well, to tell you about myself, I always feel that you know there is a kind of a combination in me, and that is I am I have a beginner's mindset, and I cherish that. When I say a beginner's mindset, I mean that I'm completely flexible, open and responsive and adaptable to all forms of learning around me. So that is what I mean by beginner's mindset. So I'm always ready to learn from each and every situation in life. At the same time, I also have a very, very, questioning spirit and a challenging spirit to question and challenge almost everything that seems to me that it has become redundant and it has become obsolete. So these sort of things have actually, I won't say challenges, but these have actually acted like powerful triggers in different points of time in my life, which had actually induced in me new ways of thinking and new ways of doing things. So the more I thought of, in this last 23 years of my journey, the more I thought of how things are happening in the education sector, the more I feel that we are doing it completely wrong. And things have to be, looked at from a very, very different perspective. So these are the powerful triggers which had actually helped me to move forward and set up the first STEM school in West Bengal. Now, when I refer to that, setting up the first STEM school in West Bengal was definitely not a very easy task. I mean, it was quite a bit of a challenge, and I'm sure you would agree to the
Definitely.
fact that, especially in the education sector, I keep on saying this at various forums that uh, there's a lot of irony here that our histories have changed, our geographies have changed, but unfortunately, our education sector and our education system has not changed. So, whenever you try to do something very, very progressive, or you try to do something out of the box, or something revolutionary, or futuristic, you will be faced with a number of challenges because you have to deal with the mindsets of people. And by people I mean the various stakeholders. It can be I'm not stating about the students, but the parents, the teachers, the management, the community at large. I mean, without whose help you cannot actually do things properly. So you have to deal with those mindsets which are very, very resistant towards change. So challenges are inevitable, but at the same time I also believe that if you work with a greater purpose in your mind, if your vision is very strong, if your intention is very sound, and you are working for that particular greater purpose, of creating a real impact, what I believe and what I've seen happening with me as well, that strong purpose actually um, starts acting like a strong magnet to pull people towards your vision. Then you don't have to do anything additional. People get pulled onto your vision, and a wonderful journey of success commences. So this is something which I have seen happening with my life as well. So uh, you know to put it crisply, I would like to say that I'm a kind of a person who has actually turned her passion into her profession. So for me, it has been a very, very fortunate and a lucky intersection between what I am good at and what I love doing. So I'm fortunate in that ground, I would say. So I'm also basically a kind of a person who is intrinsically motivated to touch, to inspire, to create an impact, to make a visible difference in the lives of the people around me through the power of education, through the progressive and the transformational power of education. And that is exactly what keeps me going.
It's a very inspiring way to look at overcoming obstacles, and I'm sure our audience would agree to that. But the education landscape in India, and I'm sure in West Bengal as well, is ever changing. So could you brief us a little bit about the current scenario of your industry and the university or department that you're involved in?
As I told you that for the last 20 years, I have been involved with the school education sector and right now in the higher education sector. Be it school education or higher education, I'm involved with the education sector in general. So, uh, again, I would like to say that I have a very, very different perspective on this. I feel that our current education system is entirely flawed. Entirely flawed in the sense there are a lot of fallacies embedded in our current education system which needs to be addressed, which needs to be addressed in, I think, with greater urgency. Let me give you, two to three instances of the same to make the point clear.
Yes, please.
So, if you consider the practice of standardized tests, now standardized tests are something which even a grade one child is subjected to, and even a student of the higher education sector. So, standardized tests are so very integral part of our education system, but it relies heavily on conformity and compliance. It does not give any weightage to the learner's innovation and creativity. So that to start off with that, I think that is quite wrong. I mean, it is not evaluating, it is not assessing, it is not giving any weightage to the learner's creativity and innovation. It is only relying on how much you're able to conform and how much you're able to comply with. So traditional and conventional educational norms always follow, always force the children to color and to draw within the lines. That is to comply, to conform, and to compete. So every learner is given the same amount of time to learn the same thing in the same way and preferably on the same day. So there is no doubt. I mean, there's no wonder that why the learners are struggling so much to realize their true potential, because this is not something that should happen actually. Because each and every learner, and even each and every educator, everybody is unique. So their learning styles are unique. You know, so there cannot be a one size fits all culture, which is very much predominant in our education sector. That is not suiting us at all. I mean, that is not serving our purpose at all. So definitely, the one size fits all culture needs to give way to a more creative, more progressive, more personalized form of education. I would like to say, even if you see, ironically, when we force the child to color within the lines, and then we expect the same child when the child will grow up to be an out of the box thinker. So, what an irony. I mean, it can never happen. Even if you see that our current education system gives so much of importance and weightage on only one kind of quotient, and that is intelligence quotient, and it does not give any importance to emotional quotient. So significant research has proved that more than 80% of your success in real life, in your professional life, it depends on your emotional quotient, how you're able to manage your emotions, how you're able to express it, how you're able to understand the emotions of others. But even then, our current education system gives so much of value and weightage to IQ and not to EQ. Right from the very beginning, we tend to impress upon the fact on our children, be it as educators or as parents, that it is so very important to compete and to come first. So competition is such an integral, cutthroat competition is such an integral part of our education system. Whereas the two major skill sets that are required to excel and thrive in 21st century happens to be cooperation and collaboration. It's not cutthroat competition, it's cooperation and collaboration that is required. So the more, we think of it, the more we would understand and realize the fact that we have been doing things very, very wrong. And our current education system does not need any reformation or a tweak or a repair or a change. Because when I speak of reformation, it means that you're trying to repair a broken model. That is not what is required. What is required is a complete overhaul, it's a complete revolution. Nothing short of a revolution will work for the current education sector.
Sure, so many students across India and the world, in fact, would agree with you on that point. So, what suggestions would you have to the new students with respect to the employability challenges that they're facing owing to this flawed system of education that we have?
So, uh, if I tell you about a very, very important statistics, I mean, uh, very demoralizing one, but something which everybody needs to take an account of. 50% of the graduates, they don't even get a decent job after completing their formal higher education. And employers would moreover reconfirm the fact that more than 80% of the ones who somehow manage to get a job are not are not competent enough, or they are not skilled enough to retain that job, and they have to be reskilled and reoriented on the job front. So this statistics will only prove that our current education system is miserably failing, you know and one of the major reasons of that being the ever widening gap between academia and industry expectations. So, academia is undoubtedly failing to prepare the young learners to face the challenges of the industry. And one of the offshoots of that being that the system is increasingly churning out more job seekers rather than job creators. So, that is a reality. So, I always, in some of my parenting sessions, also, I keep on telling the parents that, no, we have a habit as parents to ask our young children that what do you want to become when you grow up. This is a very cliched kind of a question which we
Definitely.
normally ask our children. I think it would be much better if we can ask them that what is that one problem or what is that one issue that you would like to solve or resolve as you grow up, which would bring about a visible difference in the lives of the people around you. If we start asking the right questions to our children, they would also start thinking on the right track. And that would give them the purpose for, we always keep on saying that it's so difficult for them to choose a career. But if you ask them the right question, it will help them to choose the proper career track. They would know that, yes, this is exactly what I would like to do, and this is my path. So it becomes clear to them as well. Additionally, I think that uh, we need to give more time to our young learners, which they can effectively utilize in following their passion, uh, creating, sharing, exploring, and experimenting with their unique and novel ideas. We have to stop stigmatizing failures and mistakes. And we have to impress upon the fact on our young learners that both failures as well as mistakes are essential components of learning. So we have to stop stigmatizing that as responsible adults. And also, I would like to say that if we really want our present generation to grow up and evolve into creative problem solvers, then we must give them ample scope to pursue the three essential P's. And by three essential P's, I mean play, passion, and purpose. So it is play, passion, and purpose that actually make someone truly creative. So these are the things I think it's important uh, for each and every responsible adult to remember. And at the same time, for the students, I would like to say that there is absolutely no other option apart from being a lifelong and a self motivated learner. So you have to continuously learn, unlearn, and relearn across all significant phases of your life. So uh, get rid of that mindset that after completion of my formal education, I've got my degree, I've got my certificate, so that's the end of my learning. No. In fact, that is exactly where your real learning would start from. So, and you have to continue your learning throughout. So, you will continue to learn, you will continue to acquire new skills, you will continue to embed new habits, and that is how you would continue to evolve through your experiences and would actually thrive in the 21st century volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. So these are the few things which are very essential for people to remember.
It was very insightful, ma'am. Thank you. So COVID-19 has impacted and shaken up industries everywhere, and one of those industries that were hit was the education fraternity and the education industry. So what do you think that the industry and educators as a whole could learn from COVID-19?
A lot, I think. There are a lot of things that we have learned from this COVID. Sometimes I even say, thanks to the COVID times, which had actually uh, compelled all of us to think and act outside the box. So there are many positives. A lot of positives are there. Uh, Very ironically, I would like to say that it required one C, that is Corona or COVID, to bring about the power and importance of another C, that is the importance of collaboration and connectivity. So very important. And as educators, we all have realized that we cannot continue working and learning in silos anymore. That as educators, we need to collaborate with each other, we need to share meaningful insights and exchange viewpoints. So, as it is normally said, that as teachers, the greatest resources that you can have is each other. So, without collaboration, your growth is actually limited only to your own perspective. So, this is one major learning I would like to say, the power of collaboration. Apart from that, something which I have mentioned immediately before, that is with respect to the students, I would like to mention that with respect to the educators as well. That the educators also have to continuously learn, so they also have to be lifelong learners. They have to be self motivated learners. They have to be uh, committed to the path of learning, unlearning, and relearning across all the significant phases of their life. So it is not only about students. Unless you, as an educator, if you're not committed to lifelong learning, you cannot impress that fact, and you cannot pass on that love for lifelong learning among your students. So it is first you who have to bring about that change. Uh, Apart from that, I also think that it is high time that we all should realize that teaching is not a mechanical task of transferring content and knowledge from one person to another. It is, in fact, one of the most creative and most sophisticated professions in the world, which enables our young learners to evolve into uh, their very best, their highest and the truest version of themselves. And uh, that is to be done through the educators themselves. So that is one area which I would like to harp upon. And secondly, as educators, we often make a mistake of stating that I am a teacher of history, or I'm a teacher of geography, or I'm a teacher of English. No, that is not what we are. We are not teaching subjects. We are teaching the learners, and the learners are human beings. So, teaching is a human profession. So, the human element in the teaching profession has to be brought back, or it has to be retained if it's already there. So, that is also something which is very important, because uh, I feel that the human resources, and here by human resources, I mean the learners. So the human resources are very much like natural resources. They often lie buried deep, and they do not show up unless you really make an effort and create that particular climate where they can thrive. So it is for us the responsible educators to create that positive climate where they can actually thrive and they can show up. So it is up to us as to what I mean, how we would like to, you know, what kind of climate we would like to create, conducive climate to create, so that they can essentially thrive. Also, I would like to mention that COVID has, made very clear that skill-based education is the way forward. Skill based education as well as outcome based education. These are actually the way forward. So, essential 21st century skills without which a learner cannot absolutely do anything without these skills. Definitely, they need a lot of nurturing. Uh, you know, Skills like communication, skills like critical thinking, collaboration, analytical thinking, fast and effective decision making. Along with that, emotional intelligence, very, very important and neglected in our education sector. And as I had already mentioned a little earlier, that apart from placing a lot of importance on intelligence quotient, what about the other quotients? Why are we not harping and dwelling on the other kinds of quotients, which is so very much important, for the learners of the 21st century? So these are the essential skills. Unless we tend to nurture the EQ, the emotional quotient, the passion quotient, the happiness quotient, the spiritual and the social quotient, and lastly, AQ, that is adversity quotient, which is so very much relevant in the present context of the COVID. That is how to deal with the uncertainties of life, how to deal with the vagaries of existence, how to thrive when everything around you is uncertain and there is so much of negativity around you. I mean, uh, we should all take a lesson from COVID in the sense that uh, many such challenges can come in our lives. I mean, COVID is not the be all and end all of everything. I mean, it has shaken all of us, no doubt about that, but there can be various challenges even after this which we can encounter and which our children may encounter. So how will they cope up with that unless, as educators, we tend to develop these quotients in them: AQ, PQ, HQ, SQ, uh, apart from giving only importance on IQ, then how will they thrive in the 21st century VUCA world? So these are very, very important pointers, which I feel. And lastly, in conclusion, I would like to say that it is very crucial and it is very critical to understand that um, the world does not require mechanical minds loaded with facts and figures, minds which are systematically formulated to think alike. No, that is not what the world is looking out for. And COVID has made it very clear. So, what the world is looking out for are minds which are capable of out of the box thinking and divergent thinking and out of the box ideation. So, these are the things that the world is looking out for. And we have to nurture our present generation in that very way so that they can evolve into a balanced and a holistic human being with ethical principles, and at the same time with all the relevant skill sets that will equip them to face the challenges, the global challenges of the 21st century world, with much confidence. So that is what our role is, I think.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mukherjee. Everything you said, I'm sure will resonate with our audience. And again, I'd like to thank you for coming onto our platform and speaking so candidly about the challenges you face and your industry as well. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Yash. It also has been a very wonderful experience sharing my thoughts, my insights, and my views on education. This is also something which I'm very, very passionate about. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.